Interesting, really interesting idea. To me, it's that difference between, rolling up in a truck with a dump truck full of topsoil and dumping it someone's property and selling them that to a certain price, versus actually being engaged with that soil and actually laying a garden with it and turning it into something. There's a proximity that comes with relating to others, which I think is kind of has to be there to some degree when you're working in business. It's part of what attracts you to enjoying, but it's not specifically about that. And that's the way I love that you've extended that concept to say, well, we are talking about relationships, but they're not necessarily divine. They're not defined or divine. That was an interesting slip, but
I love that. Dave's having a moment.
I am, thank you. That's the one I was just describing before. So instead of things sort of sitting in a square box where things are defined and certain behaviours are expected and maintained and rules are followed, that what can extend from that, of course, is that you're having a relationship with another human being. You're becoming part of their consciousness and what they're doing. And, hope and aspiration isn't necessarily something you need to exclude from that or
one of the things that I really incorporated strongly from the startup world, which I think sort of speaks to that again in sort of a more technical way and exactly what you're talking about to extend your topsoil metaphor, is this idea of UX or the user experience and how that's incorporated into taking ideas which haven't previously been in the market out to market. And of course the method for that, which I've sort of adapted to a degree in The Good Hustle, is about creating a sort of minimum viable product. And the idea behind that is that you aren't ever creating an experience or product or service for a customer in isolation, because ultimately, unless you are creating what that person needs, you're going to end up with something that never fits properly. So in our topsoil example, in this method, you would go to the person standing in their barren ground and say, hey, what do you want to do with your garden? Do you actually want to garden, or are you really busy? Maybe we should do something else here. Or if you were going to garden, what sort of things would you want there? And who would you like to give them to? And what are your sort of needs? And then you'd roll up with your truck packed to the gunnels with everything they had asked for and say, hey, look, I've got this for you at this price. Is that going to be what you want? And they would go, that's 99% amazing. And what about this 1% here? Okay, well, we can fix that in the next load. So you're never just rocking up and dumping topsoil and going like, well, just, it's going to work truly. It's really about that conversation. So that early conversation where before you've even put hand to shovel, you're saying, tell me about your problems. What are the things that really vex you in your life? And in the context of whatever laneway you're in business. And so what sort of things do you think could fix them? And then it's not about saying, I've got this really great idea. Do you think it's a great idea? Which is sort of the classic way we do things. And I think often we have this very romantic we'll have a romantic idea, like I think this thing is going to be perfect. And we'll sort of not really want to hear well, it might be perfect for that test market of one, which is you, but for the wider unpushed back, they're like not really interested. And going out there and asking the question, having people sort of shoot down your darlings and flames is quite, actually you have to be very humble, and you have to be very, very open to not having an attachment to your ideas as being the primary idea. And again, it's a really nice way to spend a lot of time talking to customers. And I often wonder, in Tasmania where I do a lot of work, 98% of businesses down here are micro and small businesses. So that means businesses with less than 2 people. So the 2% end of town, which is the big end of town, is kind of the small big end of town, but it's quite a big end of town. So the majority of our businesses are those micro businesses that you regularly see the statistics that something like 80% of them fail in their first year. And I often think it's because people have this great attachment to their idea and they run out and do it, and they just believe if they build it, they'll come. And usually what you'll find is if you talk to people, you'll build it right and then they'll really come.